Hi, everyone. Thank you again for coming today to celebrate the Older American Summit and the work that's happening here in the Senate. We have a few senators who will be speaking. Some of you are just coming in. If you need a seat, if those of you who could stand, perhaps if there's someone who has a disability or a senior that needs a seat, if you could move around. And there's also, please come and sit. You can sit back here. Thank you. Please give a warm welcome to Senator Bernie Sanders.
I tell you, why don't we move in a little bit and take some seats around here? You can play senator for the day, and I suspect you'll do a lot better than the people whose chairs you're sitting on. So, okay. And again, is there anybody with a disability or who is uncomfortable standing? Okay. Well, I want to thank all of you for being here today to celebrate and to talk about an issue of enormous consequence. What we're doing today is trying to raise attention on an issue that in recent years has not gotten the attention that it deserves. In this country, we are talking right now about immigration. We need to talk about immigration. We're talking about guns. We need to talk about guns. We're talking about many, many issues, but one issue that has not gotten the prominence, in my view, that it deserves is the fact that we have tens and tens of millions of seniors in this country who are struggling to live in dignity. They need our support. They're not getting our support, and right now we've got to stand up for them. Now, one of the issues that this Older Americans Act legislation that I've introduced along with many, many other senators deals with is the issue of the chain CPI. You all know what that is? There are some geniuses around here who think that people on Social Security are getting benefits which are too generous. Too generous. Now, what have seniors got in the last 4 years? 2 out of the 4 years, they've got 0 COLAs. Is that right? Last year, I think they got a 1.7. How does anyone think that is too generous? So what, in terms of the chain CPI, what they are attempting to do is cut back on Social Security benefits such that if you're 65 now, when you're 75, you're going to lose about $650 a year. Now, around here, that may not seem like a lot of money to our lobbyist friends who make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. But in Vermont, if you're trying to live on $15,000 a year, $650 means whether you live in dignity or not. So we're going to defeat that chain CPI. And not only are we going to defeat it, what is in this legislation is to say, let us in fact look at what inflation is for seniors. Are seniors spending their money on iPads and iPhones? I don't think so. They're spending their money on drugs and health care and staying warm in the winter. You know what? Those costs are going up faster than general inflation. So we want to take a real look at what seniors are spending and match COLAs to the real inflationary cost for seniors. Now, the other issues that we're talking about in this bill is the issue of hunger. In America, we are living in a situation where unbelievably, and this really is unbelievable, 20% of seniors in our country, 1 in 5, are living on average income of $7,500 a year. Now, you know what? I frankly don't know how you live on $7,500 a year. I really don't know. But in the midst of all this, we have some folks here who are anxious not only to cut Social Security, but to cut Meals on Wheels and the congregate meal program and other nutrition programs for seniors. Now, why is that a dumb idea? It's a dumb idea because, first of all, it is, to me, very ugly to pick on the weak and the vulnerable. You got large corporations here, pay nothing in taxes, and folks really get high on cutting back on children and the elderly. But second of all, it is a dumb idea because if you take away nutrition from a senior, what happens to that senior? That senior gets sicker. That senior will end up in the hospital, will end up in the emergency room at significant cost to our system. So what we are going to say is not only are we not going to cut back on nutrition programs for seniors, we're going to significantly expand funding so that no senior in this country goes hungry. And that means putting more money into the Meals on Wheels program. It is a wonderful program. Serving the most vulnerable people in our country, attracts huge numbers of volunteers. We're not going to see that program cut, nor will we see the very good programs that senior centers are providing right now. We talk about high unemployment in America. We often forget that many seniors are suffering from high unemployment. And if they have a job that gives them some additional money, it gives them some dignity. So we're going to focus on senior employment and make sure that seniors in this country who need jobs are going to get those jobs. So there is a lot of work in front of us. But first and foremost, we have got to make sure that the President of the United States and that the United States Congress understands that millions of seniors are hurting. They cannot be pushed aside. This issue has got to come front and center. We need to reauthorize the Older Americans Act. We need to strengthen that act. So thank you all very much, and let me thank all of the organizations, too many to mention, but now we have some great senators here who are with me, and I'm going to call on them in order of how they came. I think Tammy Baldwin may have been first. Tammy Baldwin, new senator from Wisconsin, doing a great job. Tammy?
Thank you, Bernie. I had the honor of serving in the House with Bernie Sanders before he became a U.S. Senator, and as you could tell, I'm trying to follow in his footsteps in every way. And he was, and to this day is, just the most passionate advocate for senior citizens. Aging issues are also very dear to my heart. Some of you who know me know that I was raised by my grandparents. And I therefore learned at a very early age a number of the challenges that seniors face. I was lucky, though. My grandparents were there for me when I needed them from a very, very young age. And so when my grandmother became older and more frail and needed my help, I felt it was not only my duty to stand up, but it was also my honor to do so, as she had sacrificed so much for me. Our seniors and their caregivers deserve peace of mind that they're not in this all by themselves. And the resources, they need peace of mind that the resources that they need are going to be there for them. The Older Americans Act ensures that our dearest seniors have access to nutritious meals, mental health screening, transportation, housing, and many other vital services. I believe that this law has been a nearly 50-year-old promise, enacted in the same year that we created Medicare. A 50-year-old promise that seniors in our country may live in dignity, with independence, and in the comfort of their own homes. I am really delighted to be able to join my fellow senators in reintroducing and reauthorizing the Older Americans Act in a way that strengthens it. This reauthorization makes important improvements to the underlying law. including providing for the creation of a national resource center on family caregiving. But more importantly, the legislation demonstrates a firm commitment to our nation's seniors that has been really sadly lacking in recent years, as you heard from Senator Sanders. In my home state of Wisconsin today, nearly 14% of our population are seniors. But by the year 2035, projections are that a quarter of our state's population will be seniors. So common sense would suggest that Congress would make smart choices about investing in our aging population. Yet, as we all know, sequestration, which I strongly oppose, has had just the opposite effect. And so it is incredibly important that we act promptly, expeditiously, to reauthorize the Older Americans Act, strengthen these programs that have been battered by sequestration, and re-engage in the promise, the 50-year-old promise of the Older Americans Act. Thank you to my colleagues for their commitment.
Thank you, Tammy. I think you all know that one of the real fighters throughout his career for seniors and for the disabled and people whose voices are not often heard has been Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa. Please welcome Senator Harkin.
Thank you, Bernie. Thank you all. Thanks, Bernie. I really appreciate the fact that Bernie called on Tammy before he called on me. He's such a hard act to follow. I don't ever want to follow Bernie. But anyway, thank you all very much for being here today. You know, Woody Allen once said that 90% of life is just showing up. Thank you for showing up. And thank you for showing up here today and in communities across America to bear witness to the fact that the Older Americans Act has provided a much-needed social safety net for seniors all across America. Now, most people know about Social Security and Medicare, Medicaid. A lot of Americans don't know about what the Older Americans Act really does and how it fills in. You know, sometimes around this place you get the idea that a lot of our colleagues think that all seniors winter in Palm Beach and summer in Aspen. Most seniors live in small communities, or in their cities. They're a lot of times they don't have family members to give them a lot of support. Family members may be dispersed around the country. And so they rely upon just some of the meager things that the Older Americans Act does. And just think, I remember when my older brother, he's now since deceased, he was the one who was disabled, that I talk about a lot in terms of disability issues. But when he was older, he lived by himself, he loved being independent. But after he had come down with cancer, a couple of other things, he still wanted to live by himself at home. He didn't want to go to a nursing home and all that kind of stuff. He stayed at home. What enabled him to stay at home? The Older Americans Act. They brought him a home-delivered meal once every day to his house. And they provided a ride for him to go see the doctor when he needed a ride to go see the doctor. They gave him a ride to a community center to just have some sociability. A lot of people don't understand how much this allows people to be independent and to live at home and to have a decent quality of life. I just asked Bernie, I said, the Older Americans Act expired in September of 2011, 12, 13. We got to reauthorize it. We have to reauthorize the Older Americans Act, extend it, strengthen it, give it the underpinnings it needs. While we're going to do everything we can to protect Social Security and not let it be privatized, we're going to fight. Bernie's been our great leader on this and fighting the change CPI. No one's been more outspoken and stalwart in fighting against that change CPI than Bernie Sanders. So yeah, we're going to do this. But we can't forget about the elderly who, I think about them living in my small towns in Iowa, sometimes in a very meager house. They have very meager income. But this safety net, this social safety net of the Older Americans Act enhances their lives. They live better. They feel better about themselves. They're healthier because of this. So again, I just want to thank Bernie. We call him Bernie. I don't call him Senator Sanders. I call him Bernie. Hey, Bernie. Thank you very much for your leadership in bringing everybody together on this. Thanks, Bernie.
Thank you very much, Tom. And by the way, we forgot to mention, this is the gentleman who's chairman of the Health, Education, Labor, Pension Committee, which will reauthorize this bill. Richard Blumenthal, Senator Blumenthal from Connecticut, has been a very, very strong fighter for seniors and veterans from day one. Senator Blumenthal.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. This act is long overdue for reauthorization. We can't wait any longer for more Americans to become older before we reauthorize it. And it is an essential part of the fabric. I hesitate to use the word safety net because it's there for everyone, whether they need a net or not. It provides those essential services that have become a part of the American fabric of caring. And one area where I'm particularly grateful that this act will improve the current protections is in the area of elder abuse. 14% of all older Americans are victims of elder abuse who do not live in nursing homes. Elder abuse can be financial, it can be physical. It's underreported because people are ashamed and embarrassed to acknowledge that they have been abused, often by loved ones or caregivers when they live at home instead of in nursing homes. 14% at a minimum. And this act will provide better protection by making their cases priorities for adult protective services in the states, and in other ways will call attention to elder abuse and help to deter it, prevent it, prosecute it, stop it. But it also enables people to have the meals and the care and other kinds of basic support that they need to stay at home, and it's extraordinarily cost-effective at a time when financial well-being for them and for our nation are a predominant need. So I want to thank all of you for being here today and for demonstrating that you care and that you're supporting it. Ultimately, citizen activists like you are going to get this job done. And I want to thank Senator Sanders, Bernie, for his great, unstinting, fearless support of these causes on this one. And Tom Harkin has been a mentor and a model for me. Thank them both. And I want to thank Al Franken for his unwavering commitment to this bill, and my colleague Tammy Baldwin. They are a great part of this team. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. From his first day in the Senate, Al Franken has focused on issues of senior needs, and he's doing a great job on the Health Education Committee. Please welcome Senator Al Franken of Minnesota.
Thank you, Bernard. I'm a little more formal. Thanks for calling today's event and for your for leading the charge to reauthorize the Older Americans Act. I've done a lot of roundtables around and listening sessions around the state of Minnesota. I think we've done about 25. And this is a remarkable program that, and Tom Harkin is right, that a lot of people don't know about, but that's been around since 1965 and has done a tremendous, tremendous amount of good for an enormous number of people. And it's enabled, this is what we hear whenever we go to these roundtables, is I want to stay in my home. I want to be able to stay in my home. And this program enables people to stay in their homes. And it does it by Meals on Wheels, delivering a healthy meal a day, one a day, and by the way, sometimes the only time when this senior will be visited in that day. And this is a good way to check up on people, see that they're okay. Also, giving rides. These are volunteers that do this. I was at a round table where I think an 83-year-old senior who is a senior companion and talked about how he did it because it fed his spirit, his soul, to do it. And these are people who give ride to, not just to a doctor's appointment or a haircut, but sometimes to congregate dining at a senior center, or sometimes to a movie. This provides respite care for families who are taking care of an older person. Sometimes that respite care is incredibly needed. We show that it helps the mental health of the people providing the care, or the families. This is a great program, and the great thing about this program is it saves money. People want to stay in their homes. Well, guess what? It costs Medicaid 3 times more to take when someone is in a nursing home than when they're staying in their own home to take care of someone. This is about keeping our deficit under control, while at the same time improving the health and well-being of seniors and of their families. It's a win-win-win-win-win proposition. And we got to get this, and I want to thank Senator Bernard Sanders of the great state of Vermont. And I want to thank all my colleagues on this issue of elder abuse that Dick has led the way on. I'm very glad that that the chairman has included in the legislation something called the Home Care Consumer Bill of Rights Act, which is just modeled after what we do in Minnesota. This is something we do in Minnesota, and it speaks to the same problem that Dick was talking about, and this includes just protections and tools to help seniors make informed decisions about their long-term care and protect seniors from abuse, from neglect, and exploitation. This is something we need to do. We need to do it this year. We will, because of the leadership of the chairman, Tom Harkin, because of the leadership of my colleagues, Tammy Baldwin, Dick Blumenthal, and because especially the leadership of Bernie Sanders. So thank you all for being here, and because of your leadership and the leadership of the other advocates that are here today. Thank you.
Last but not least, and we have to forgive him, he comes from Alaska. It's a long, long way away, is Mark Begich. Mark?
Bernie, thank you very much. Thank you for all of you being here. And let me just, I'll be brief because I know you've already had plenty of senators saying all kinds of stuff, and I want to echo that and just say making sure that the Older Americans Act continues and is renewed. I'll tell you, from being a former mayor, I've been many times, and I've seen it with our senior center, our Meals on Wheels. I've been out there delivering. It's also the greatest conversations, I have to tell you. If you're a mayor or a local government official or a senator, when you're out doing deliveries and you get to knock on those doors, there's no quick, how do I put this? You don't get to visit for a second. When they see an elected official and you're delivering that meal, they want to invite you in and have a great conversation. It's been probably the most rewarding time that I've ever had. So let me just say thank you for doing what you're doing on the advocacy level here in Washington, but also on the local level, making sure and reminding people how important it is to support our seniors. And in Alaska, it's our phrase for this month is unleash the power of age. And we have about 60 people over the 100 mark in Alaska. And whenever I see them, they are unbelievably they're watching TV, I got to tell you. They're watching C-SPAN, and they're making sure we're doing the right thing. But I also know the power that the older American community has in our employment sector and many other elements of our economy. And I just want to say thank you very much for the advocacy. You will find us not only advocates here in the Senate, but back home and anywhere possible to make sure that seniors have the voice and a loud voice, and make sure the laws are there to protect them, but also to support their efforts, maybe on Meals on Wheels or senior centers, workforce development, whatever it might be. So I just want to echo everyone's comments here and say thank you for allowing me to say a few words. Thank you.
And Senator Begich comes from, I think, perhaps in some ways the most rural state in America, yes, and many isolated communities, and those especially how important the Older Americans Act is. It now gives me a great deal of pleasure to introduce Edwin Walker. Mr. Walker is the Deputy Assistant Secretary on Aging at the Administration on Aging. Mr. Walker.
You know, I was asked to come and speak, and I want to thank Senator Sanders for the invitation. On behalf of the administration, we are so pleased to be a part of this. But I want to just tell you, it is very noteworthy that you're doing this. I love the backdrop. It talks about protecting seniors. And we were asked to sort of speak about the success of the Older Americans Act. And you've heard it. Actually, the people in this room represent the success of the Older Americans Act. The Older Americans Act, which was passed in 1965, right along with its companion pieces, better known, of course, as Medicare and Medicaid, but a very significant piece of legislation that has created what we refer to as the country's infrastructure for low-cost, home and community-based long-term services and supports that do exactly what Congress intended it to do, which is to enable older people to live with independence, with dignity, in their own homes and communities for as long as possible, and then when they're not able to protect their interests, to speak on behalf of them when they're in an institution like a nursing home, to protect them from elder abuse, neglect, and exploitation. And you know what? I am a proud member, not only of this administration, but a proud member of the aging services community. I have grown up with the Older Americans Act, just as many of you have. And Senator, I would submit that the success of the Older Americans Act is the people. You will not find a more dedicated, committed group of people who are focused on achieving that mission that the Congress put in the Older Americans Act, serving people, meeting their needs, helping and enabling people to be secure, helping them to be independent. And, you know, I came with a speech. I'm not giving the speech. I just want to talk to the hearts of the people here, because that's the beauty, that's the success of the Older Americans Act. Each of you has played a significant role, and we have no doubt that you will continue to play that role, whether it's in the meals program, providing transportation, helping people get employed, focusing on getting their pensions that they're entitled to, helping folks avoid fraud and scams and the like. Whatever you may do, providing support for caregivers so that they can continue to provide the care for their loved ones. We know that this Older Americans Act is significant and important. And it really grew out of the whole notion of acknowledging the contribution of seniors to this country, those who have dedicated service because of providing veteran service and protecting and defending our country, to those who provide services each and every day, to seniors, helping them enable themselves to continue to live independently. That's when President Kennedy, actually 50 years ago, first created the notion of acknowledging and recognizing May as an Older Americans Month component. And we just want to stand with you today to acknowledge the significance of this piece of legislation and to urge reauthorization. It's important for folks to note, and I'm going to speak to this crowd, the Older Americans Act historically has always enjoyed strong bipartisan support. It's a piece of legislation that we never imagined people would argue with. And we're wondering what has changed, what has happened. And I would urge you, because the Older Americans Act urges you to be an advocate, that you make sure that every senator, not just those who are here today who know about it, but that every senator and every congressman knows the importance and the significance of the Older Americans Act. That's what this event can really do. Thank you so very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Walker. Marcy Phillips is from the National Council on Aging. Marcy?
Well, now I realize I probably need to throw out all of my remarks because everybody has been so articulate on why the Older Americans Act is so important, why we need to rally behind it, and why reauthorization is needed. And I know you all know about the importance of the Act, but I do want to speak to you about why National Council on Aging supports the legislation and why we think the reauthorization process is so important. We applaud Chairman Sanders, Chairman Harkin, and his colleagues for prioritizing the Older Americans Act. At the National Council on Aging, we are a national nonprofit service and advocacy organization whose mission it is to improve the lives of millions of older adults, especially those who are vulnerable and disadvantaged. We partner with nonprofits, business, and government to develop creative solutions to improve the lives of older adults, helping them find jobs and benefits, improve their health, live independently, and remain active in their communities. A crucial component of the work that the community organizations we partner with are the programs and strategies of the Older Americans Act. Delivered through a national network of 56 state agencies on aging, over 600 area agencies on aging, more than 200 tribal organizations, and nearly 20,000 local service providers, OAA services empower seniors to remain independent in their own homes and communities and avoid expensive health care and institutional settings, with services ranging from supportive services, in-home care, transportation, the nutrition services you've heard so much about, elder abuse protection, employment services, and the like. However, despite the cost-effective investment in the Older Americans Act and its ability to bend downward the mandatory cost curve, the main reason the Act has not reached its full potential is of lack of funding. Over the past decade, we've seen cuts and further erosion in the funding, and sequester is hitting us just like it is the whole gamut of non-defense discretionary programs out there. In recent years, the exponential growth of the population and their increased needs due to the economic downturn have applied enormous pressure on the limited resources of the Act and the Aging Services Network that administers it. As many have said today, the Act is overdue for reauthorization, and this process offers us an important opportunity to enhance program efficiency and coordination and promote continued innovation and best practices to meet the needs of today's and tomorrow's seniors. We support the Chairman's legislation because it incorporates several of our priorities, including explicitly establishing economic security as a goal of the Act and promoting key strategies, emphasizing the delivery of evidence-based chronic disease self-management and fall prevention, promoting senior center modernization, enhancing the Senior Community Service Employment Program, and strengthening legal assistance and elder justice provisions. We applaud the continued efforts of Chairman Sanders, Chairman Harkin, and his colleagues to advance a bipartisan, bicameral Older Americans Act reauthorization process that remains true to its history. We look forward to advocating with all of you for a strong OAA that serves the needs of today's and tomorrow's seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy. We all know what a hugely important role Meals on Wheels serves in this country. Ellie Hollander is the president and CEO of the Meals on Wheels Association of America.
Senator Sanders, I want to thank you for a number of things. The first is I've never had a podium where I towered over it, so I really appreciate that. But seriously, I want to thank you very much for hosting this summit, to your staff as well, Sophie and Erica. I want to also personally applaud you for your commitment, your passion, your loyalty, and dedication to addressing senior hunger in America. And I was glad to see your colleagues were able to make it, and we'd like to recognize them as well. But as we've already heard, May is a very special month. It's a month in which we honor older Americans for the invaluable and everlasting contributions that they've made to enriching life in America. It's a month to pay tribute to our grandparents, our parents, our aunts and uncles, our friends, our military veterans, and our teachers, scores of people that are with us today that we should actually acknowledge right now. So, to older Americans. So why then, in the richest country in the world, are we facing a situation where 1 in 7 seniors are struggling from hunger? That's 8.3 million seniors in this country, the richest country of the world. Well, I don't know the answer to that, but what I do know is we do have the solution. We have the people and we have the systems in place to solve this travesty. Too bad that Senator Harkin isn't here. I'd say Woody Allen also said, it's a travesty of a mockery of a sham that we are in this situation today. The people and systems that I refer to are the 5,000 local community-based Meals on Wheels programs and the volunteers that serve them that deliver meals every single day to homebound and hungry seniors. Were it not for the system and the federal support set up by the Older Americans Act and the tireless work of these thousands of volunteers and staff across the country, senior hunger would be even worse than it is today. The more that Older Americans Act nutrition programs like Meals on Wheels can keep seniors well-nourished, independent, and healthy in their own homes, which is, by the way, where they want to be, the less the federal government will have to spend on hospital care, nursing homes, doctor's visits, and all that is paid through Medicare and Medicaid. That's why Meals on Wheels offers an enormous return on investment for each taxpayer dollar spent. In fact, we can feed a senior Meals on Wheels for an entire year for what it costs to be in the hospital for 1 day. But don't just take my word for it. The Center for Effective Government just a few weeks ago released a study that said for every $1 invested in a Meals on Wheels program, that has the opportunity to save $50 in Medicaid alone. That's a tremendous return on investment. So it's inconceivable then that in a month where we're supposed to be honoring senior older Americans for their contributions, and despite the proven effectiveness of Meals on Wheels programs, thousands of programs are struggling today due to the impact of sequester, where $48 million in Older American Act funding for nutrition programs has been cut between now and the next 5 months. And that's just for this year. We don't have no idea what the impact will be going forward. So as a result, let me tell you about the choices that Meals on Wheels programs are making right now as we speak. Almost 70% of our member programs are cutting the number of meals they're serving. Over 70% are establishing for the first time or adding to existing wait lists. More than half are reducing the number of seniors being served. By the way, nobody wants to do this, but they have no choice. 40% are eliminating staff positions. 25% are reducing the number of days that are open for congregate meals, which is where it's in a community setting, like a senior center. And 1 in 6 programs are actually closing their doors. This is a time when we should be celebrating older Americans, not penalizing them. Let me thank, again, Senator Sanders, and let's all join and take his lead to together reintroduce and reauthorize and strengthen the Older Americans Act and make certain that there are sufficient resources available to appropriately fund nutrition programs. Not only is it fiscally responsible, but it is a social and moral imperative. Thank you for your attention and for the invitation.
Thank you. Let me just reiterate what Ellie has just said. When you invest in the Older Americans Act, you save money. When you keep people, as Al Franken said, at home rather than a nursing home, you save money. When people have decent nutrition and they don't get sick, they don't end up in the emergency room, in the hospital, you save money. So it is not only an overriding moral issue of whether you support those people who are struggling, who are vulnerable, who are aging, it is an economic issue, and investing in the Older Americans Act makes a whole lot of sense. Let me now introduce somebody who just walked in, but who has, throughout his career, been a very, very strong fighter for seniors and for vulnerable Americans in general, Senator Ben Cardin of Maryland.
Senator Sanders, I understand we're going to hear from some Marylanders, and I certainly don't want to stand in the way of... We have some Marylanders in the house? All right. Senator Mikulski and I welcome you here, and we want you to know how proud we are of the person who has led this effort, the leader. And you can't attend the Democratic caucus meetings that we have, but you'd be so proud of the person who stands up regularly to speak about American values and that we do what's right for the people of this country. So I know he's been acknowledged. I know he comes up, but please thank Senator Sanders for his incredible national leadership. So I thank you on behalf of the people of Maryland. You may be a Vermont legislator, but you're helping all the people of this country, and we thank you so much for that leadership. And he does it every day. Now, I started getting involved in the Older Americans Act and the programs for our seniors when I was a state legislator. And I chaired the Ways and Means Committee. For the reasons, Bernie, that you said, we looked at the cost issues on institutional care and saw the amount of money that we were spending. And we said, there's a better way. I remember one time I got into an argument with our state director of medical services because I was trying to get some adult daycare. This is well before Medicare paid for this. And I said, look, we're taking people who are eligible for nursing care and we're keeping them in the community. You got to save money. And they said, well, we got to pay for your service first, so we can't support it. The Older Americans Act keeps people where they want to be in their community, providing the essential services. And it is critically important we reauthorize and modernize and fund these programs and all the benefits that it provides. So I'm on the Sanders team here. I'm on your team. We're going to do everything we can to get this bill passed and to fight the irresponsible cuts and to make sure that we get the money necessary so that seniors can live in dignity and we can provide the services that people need in order to stay healthy, in order to stay active, and in order to stay in the community and save us money. Now, I want to thank Senator Sanders. He's included a provision that I introduced with Senator Kirk. This is a bipartisan provision to deal with Holocaust survivors so that they can get easier access to the services under the Older Americans Act. Just, I'm sure most of you are aware, but Holocaust survivors, their average age is in the 80s. They live in poverty, and they live in constant fear of being institutionalized. And this bill and the amendments that are incorporated by Senator Sanders will make their life a little bit easier. So this is an important effort to get this done. We're going to need your help, and I am confident that with your help, we can do the right thing and get this bill enacted. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Senator Cardin. I wish very much that we had the time and we had the media exposure to listen to the hundreds and hundreds and thousands and tens of thousands of people who benefit from one or another program in the Older Americans Act. I think people will just be amazed at what they are hearing. But we don't have the time to listen to tens of thousands of people, but we are going to hear from several right now. And I'm going to introduce them, and then I'm going to have to apologize because I have to run. I'm the chairman of another committee, and I've got to get out of here and take some other responsibility. But I want to introduce Catherine Yoel from Hyattsville, Maryland. Catherine receives home-delivered meals through the Meals on Wheels program at Tacoma Park. And Catherine, thank you so much. I gather you don't get out of the house all that often, and we very much appreciate your being here with us today to tell us your experience.
Good morning. My name is Catherine Yoel, and I live in Hyattsville, Maryland.
Hold that mic. Hold that mic right. Okay. Can you hold this for her? Okay.
I began receiving meals from Meals on Wheels of Tacoma Park about 6 years ago. I have a disability. It makes it difficult for me to walk or to stand for long periods of time. Every weekday, I get 2 meals delivered to my door by friendly volunteers. It's been a lifeline for me. 2 years ago, I went to the hospital and a rehab facility. They told me I could not go home unless I had help in the home. Luckily, Meals on Wheels was able to pick me right back up again. I am told that I live even 3 miles away. The wait for Meals on Wheels is 6 to 8 months long. My family does not live in the area, and they are in poor health in themselves. Luckily, I have many friends and neighbors who help check on me, but I depend on Meals on Wheels. I hope you will continue to fund these vital programs for seniors. It is penny wise to fund these effective programs that are based in the community, and billions of dollars foolish not to fund them. I look at Meals on Wheels as my immediate family, taking care of some of my immediate needs, being my friend, and preparing and servicing the nutritious meals. Thank you for allowing me to testify at this committee's hearing.
Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce our final speaker, Tessa Tripp.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tessa Tripp. I am a mother of 9, and I became involved with CSEP through my aunt who introduced it to me, and I have benefited greatly from the program, Family and Children Services. I have been able to volunteer through this program for over 4 years. During that time, I was able to take classes. I was able to go back to school and obtain my GNA license. I was able to go back to school and become a physical therapy aide, and I am presently in school. I will start in June to become a physical therapy assistant. This program has helped me in so many ways that it's just unbelievable how a society as this would even consider not helping our seniors. We are living longer. We have so much to offer. We have just loads and loads of knowledge that we can benefit from, that others can benefit from. I'm a mother, and my children have benefited. My family has benefited. The community has benefited from this program. I taught a volunteer service where I went into the community, a senior service building, and helped seniors to get on the computer. Seniors as old as 91 years old. Now, hearing the mouse to them is a four-legged creature that runs around on the floor. So it was a little uncomfortable for them to actually touch a mouse. But they have benefited from this, and they have been able to go and reach friends in other countries, in other states, simply by going to the computer, and turning the computer on was just a scary thing for them. But now they can network with friends all over the world. So these programs have been beneficial, and I really hope that, we see as a people that this is an important program to keep in place for all of our seniors. If we're blessed to live to be a senior, we want to have programs out there that are going to help us, as they have helped me and as they have helped many of you. Thank you.